This is your latest Manchester United transfer news. Lots to get into as always on the news show. Lewis Hall is where we're going to start because Eddie Howe has been sacked by Newcastle, and predictably this has sent a lot of journalists and United fans into excitement that we're going to sign Lewis Hall. We will tell you about that, of course. There's also stuff coming in from Spain around Real Madrid and Manchester United. We've got something on Rashford. We've got something on Buwadi. We've got an interesting article in The Guardian that is basically ripping apart Man United's plans for next season. I think that's very important to discuss as well. But let's start off talking about Lewis Hall this morning. So, look, rather surprisingly, I've already reacted to it on That's Football. Eddie Howe has been sacked by Manchester United. Sorry, I've just got someone in the chat I want to get rid of here. Someone defending Ineos already, calling me a mug for calling out Ineos. Yeah, bye-bye. Wrong channel. MUTV for you, mate. Get your box of tissues out and your lube. Get comfortable and whatever you sit on. And let's go. So we're going to talk about the Lewis Hall deal. And so I think it's Luckhurst, which I betray myself and any credibility of this community by mentioning Samuel Luckhurst and transfers, because he's got about as much, you may as well ask your goldfish. But he says that Manchester United might be looking at Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall, Eddie Howe has left Newcastle. I think that kills the deal. Some people think it starts the deal. Let me just tell you a few things about this before I tell you why I think it doesn't help Man United do a deal for Lewis Hall. And I will admit, this is a news show. And Manchester United are weighing up a move for Newcastle United left-back Lewis Hall this summer. The 21-year-old is viewed as the ideal long-term replacement for Luke Shaw, whose contract expires next year. Hall had been keen to leave Newcastle before Eddie Howe's departure. This is from Samuel Luckhurst in the last few minutes. I think there'll be more. I think there will. I've got a De Ligt injury update as well. I think there will be more people talking about this. Absolutely. I think 2 + 2 is 5 for a lot of people. Eddie Howe leaves Newcastle, so Lewis Hall leaves Newcastle as well because they didn't get on. I have been saying to you for a number of weeks, I do not believe that Man United will sign Lewis Hall. I've heard nothing about talks. In fact, it was Mike Keegan who said that Man United were baffled by the links to Lewis Hall about a month ago. I haven't heard anything since then to make me believe that that has changed. He would also cost a lot of money, which Man United don't want to spend. And there are some very obvious issues with Lewis Hall signing for Manchester United, which I will list off now. Firstly, he was only last week pictured in the new Newcastle away kit talking about it being his boyhood club. Secondly, his issue was with Eddie Howe, who has left the club. If the issue is removed, why does he want to leave the club? Thirdly, Newcastle do not need to sell cheap. They don't need to sell at all. They have already made £170 million in sales from Anthony Gordon and Tonali, and they're about to sell Bruno Guimaraes. They are going to have over £200 million of sales before they even think about selling Lewis Hall. And that puts us straight into the same situation we were with Anthony about, 3-4 years ago, where Ajax are selling and United sit on their hands until they go numb, and then when they write checks out, they're very big. We had an opportunity with Ten Hag when we took him from Ajax, with insider knowledge, to go and get Anthony for under 50 million. We waited till the end of the window when we paid 90 million euros. This is what we've done with Lewis Hall. And that's presuming we're in for him, which I don't think we are. But we have left it too late. I did a video in April, early April, saying Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, there were loads of clubs don't even know what they're doing next year. They don't know whether they're in Europe. They don't know whether they're not in Europe. We pretty much knew we were going to be in Europe in April. And I said at the time, whether it's Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Lewis Hall, now is the time to get at the front of the queue with Newcastle when they've sold nobody, put the money on the table, get the deal done quick. Because if you wait with Newcastle, there'll become a point when they've already sold 3 players and then you're trying to get the 4th player out and they go, we don't want to sell them. And if we are selling them, the price is ridiculous. Spanish reports this morning, is it Ramon Alvarez? I don't know how credible he is, but to be honest with you, there's quite a few people reporting it from Spain, basically saying Rodri signing for Real Madrid could lead to Real Madrid selling a midfielder And it could be Tchouaméni. Right, okay, let me tell you the story on this. The reason Tchouaméni has not announced his new contract is because he's been in America and now he's on holiday. He has agreed a new contract at Real Madrid. Some people are saying, well, when he agreed that contract, Real Madrid hadn't signed Rodri. I'm sorry, there's very few footballers in the world who, when they sign a new contract, have a clause in it saying, I get to decide whether you're signing a player or not. I mean, it's preposterous to think that Tchouaméni, when he signed his new contract, also got a clause in there saying you can't sign another midfielder while I'm here. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So look, he has signed a new contract. There is nothing out there. And the reason it's not been announced publicly is because he's not actually in Spain to do it yet. We do need to move on from Tchouaméni. If it flips back, it'll be a huge shock and it'll be a nice surprise. But there's nothing going on. And these stories, these Lewis Hall and Tchouaméni stories that people hype up, they're basically as bad as the Glazers. Well, they're not. They haven't put the club in debt. But they're basically romanticising to try and spin positivity around a football club that is doing very, very bad in this window at the moment. In fact, there was a very good article today, just to deviate a little bit. There was a very good article, I think it was Jamie Jackson in The Guardian today. I'll read you a little bit out of it. I thought it was very, very good. So basically, they were talking about the squad. And they were saying, because I genuinely said this last night, like I genuinely do think the positive fans are waking up. And I do think the media are starting to wake up, which I credit them for, because the job in the media as a journalist is to reveal the truth and, you know, not be a bloody client journalist to Manchester United Football Club. It's not a nice football club. They're not run by nice people. So why would you be a client of theirs? Uncover the truth. And I quite liked this article because it was speaking about, it used the centre-backs as a key indicator, basically, of the problems of the squad. Because when you look at the centre-backs of Man United, you've got Harry Maguire, De Ligt, Lisandro Martinez, Aiden Heaven, Yoro. You've got 5 centre-backs for 2 positions. So you could look at United's centre-back pool and go, it's really good. But then you go, well, that's probably one of the strongest areas of United's team, because obviously our goalkeeper's good, but he's young. Our fullback situation's not great. Our midfield situation's not great. We need a backup striker. Our wingers are reasonable, but we don't really have a left-sided player. Our centre-back pool is probably the strongest part of United's team going into the new season. But even that's not strong when you scratch the surface, because you've got De Ligt, who is on his way back with a bad back, but isn't going to be back for another month or 2. And when he does come back, could have another issue. You've got Lisandro Martinez, who I think is our best centre-back, but is out of contract very soon. Some people think we should sell him. Some people think he's injury-prone. You've got Harry Maguire, who had a very good end to the season, but is basically at the end of his career. You've got Heaven, who's at the start of his career and is still, you know, hopefully going to be a good player, but he still needs to be developed. And then you've got Yoro, who cost 50 million quid, who's probably our 5th choice centre-back. So, all right, we've got 5 centre-backs, but it's not as balanced as people think it is. Like, there is papering of the cracks in there. There is thin ice there. So I thought it was very good. But then it went on to, you know, it said, but, you know, if there's problems potentially with the centre-back, it's nothing compared to the midfield. When you look at what Man City have done with Elliot Anderson, and they're also about to sign Buadi. And let's not forget, Man City are about to sign a midfielder for £100 million and potentially loan him back. That's power. Man United, listen to this, right? Manchester City are about to sign a player for £100 million and potentially loan him out for a year. We're the only top 6 club that's never spent £100 million on a player. And if you want a key fact about how Man United are falling away and falling off, well, when one of our supposed rivals is spending £100 million on a player to loan them out, and we're the only club out of the top 6 that's never spent £100 million on a player, it's a very clear and, you know, clear view of the drop-off at Man United. But look, it goes on to say, you know, you've got Chelsea spending 117 on Morgan Rogers. You've got Tottenham spending massively on Tonali and Fernandes. Liverpool are about to sign big on Barcola. Arsenal would love to sign Vinicius Jr. Man United have been and signed Yuri Tillemans, who is 29 with 13 years in his legs and no competition for him, and £48 million for Andre Santos, who has 11 league starts last season for Chelsea. This is not my words. This is the words of Jamie Jackson in The Guardian. And I think the media are starting to wake up. I think they're starting to wake up and go, even we're not going to get spun anymore. Like, you got Man City spending £100 million on a player that they might loan. United have never spent £100 million on a player. You've got United's two major signings being a £35 million release clause that no one else wanted, and a £48 million player that started 11 games last season. Now, that's nothing against Tillemans and Santos, but it's not overwhelming, is it? And I look at United's squad, and articles like that do help, and I go, where is this squad equipped to have a good season? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And, you know, Carrick can say it is, but I think the centre-back situation could fall apart big time. Full-backs ain't good enough. Midfield's not good enough. Wingers I'm reasonably happy with. Mbeumo, Ahmad, Cunha, Dorgu, potentially Rashford. And, you know, Sesko if he can stay fit, and Bruno's the superstar. But, you know, this is not a very good Manchester United situation. There is 5 weeks left in the window, but there's still a lot of work to do. And the reason I mention that is obviously to give a little bit of context to the Lewis Hall and the Tchouaméni stories. Why the hell are we talking about Lewis Hall and Tchouaméni with 5 weeks to go and left in the window?
Yeah, more bad news for FIFA, more bad news for Gianni Infantino, because today in Miami, the North and Central American Football Confederation, they're called CONCACAF, and they have 41 members. They've been holding an emergency meeting in Miami to discuss Gianni Infantino's controversial plan to sell off a stake in the World Cup. And they have come out unanimously rejected his proposal. And they've just released a pretty strongly worded statement. They're not going as far as UEFA have gone and said that they're going to boycott FIFA tournaments, but they are making it very, very clear that they're unhappy with FIFA, they're unhappy with Gianni Infantino, and they're rejecting this proposal out of hand. They say during the meeting, the membership expressed deep concerns about the lack of due process surrounding the proposal, the artificially short deadline, because all these FAs around the world have been told by Gianni Infantino, you have until September the 19th to either accept this proposal or reject it. All these FAs are saying, why? Why have you put this deadline? Surely this needs to be done properly. It needs to be argued, looked at. We need to have a proper consultation. You can't just do this all behind closed doors.
Well, it's out of the Trump playbook, that, isn't it?
Well, you said it there. I'm not going to argue with you, Mike. They also go on to say they are concerned about the absence of any review or approval by the relevant FIFA governance body. And they also say they have deep concerns about why private investment, private equity investment, as they call it, needs to be involved in this at all. And they finish off the statement by saying, for these reasons, CONCACAF and its 41 member football associations reject the proposal. They also want to ask FIFA, why can you not look at using FIFA's vast cash reserves, several billion pounds, to increase the funding that member associations get, especially on the back of this vastly successful World Cup, which was actually held in 3 CONCACAF member countries, Canada, Mexico and the USA. And they also basically say they want assurances from FIFA to ensure that in the future they do things the right way and their president doesn't plot behind the backs of FIFA Council members, confederation presidents and also presidents and chief executives of the 211 football associations which make up FIFA. So some pretty uncomfortable news landing on Gianni Infantino's desk if he's still at work in Zurich.
This is a man who only a few days ago was boasting about how brilliant the World Cup was, and we had to all wade through that 15-page document. How's he feeling tonight?
Well, look, he's under a lot of pressure. Serious questions are now being asked about his future, even though in his back pocket He's got letters of support to stand again, probably unopposed, as FIFA president next March for another 4-year term. He was almost guaranteed to get another 4-year term.
Was.
Do you think exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's changed. When you're getting people in CONCACAF turning against Gianni Infantino, when you're getting people in Asia, like we've had today, turning against him, then you have to say, are we now going to see a rival candidate emerge? Have people finally had enough of Gianni Infantino? You and I, for years and years, have been reporting on some of his ideas, what he's been doing, how unpopular he's become. I've always tried to be fair and impartial and present both sides of the story, even though at times it's been very, very difficult. Even at this World Cup, we had outrageous ticket prices. We had the hydration breaks. We had the Flo Balogun controversy. We had President Trump getting involved.
Treatment of Iran.
We had the referee who wasn't allowed in the country. So many controversies that we had to report on, and people appeared to be willing to put up with everything. I think now, though, we've reached a tipping point, because unprecedented for a confederation like UEFA to say, we're going to boycott all your tournaments unless you drop this plan. And also very, very significant that a confederation like CONCACAF are moving so quickly, having a meeting and then release a statement saying we reject this guy's proposals.
As you say, so many controversies through the years. He's very thick-skinned. He's always brushed them off. Can he brush this off? Can he move on?
Well, look, let's wait and see how he responds, because what's he going to do? Is he going to now drop these proposals because he's seen the strength of feeling against it from the football family around the world? And also, he's got to be a realist. He knows. He used to work at UEFA himself. He knows that without UEFA, you cannot have a World Cup. And also, he likes to mix in circles with some of the richest people in the world. They will be telling him, Gianni, this is a dead duck now. This cannot go ahead. We're not going to invest in a scheme that doesn't include some of the biggest footballing countries in the world. So he's having a very, very uncomfortable evening at a time when, even though this was the most controversial World Cup ever, he could stand there and say to his critics, like he did at the start of this week with that statement that he put out on Instagram or whatever, denouncing haters and all that sort of stuff. He should be really at the height of his powers, because he should be saying to all these federations, I know I'm controversial, I know some people don't like me, but look at all the money I'm bringing in, and I know you're going to support me in March for another 4 years. I think there are now serious question marks about how much support he has. He still has support, but I think that we're now getting to the stage where, at the very least, surely someone's going to come out and stand against him. Surely UEFA are going to find a candidate who is going to stand against him in March.